All right. So, welcome, everybody. As always, this is your time. So, tomorrow we are going to do policy review for the weekly call. So, if you are around 4 o'clock Central tomorrow, we're going to talk policy review and see what we can do from that standpoint. Just got a notification someone's trying to join the meeting. Okay. So, I didn't know if there was any hiccups or glitches that anyone had. So, what I'd say is that if you guys have anything specific you want to talk about tonight, feel free to drop it in the chat or feel free to, just raw burst of emotion, just fire it out there, and we can discuss. There's always a couple things that I can think of too. From a help standpoint, I think the big thing is I want to respect people who came in for the opportunity tonight. So I'll give a quick second for you guys to see if you got anything. If not, I'll dive into a few things myself. So. I'll pause for a second. Going once, going twice. All right. So we'll kind of dive in here, figure out a couple things to talk about. Wanted to also kind of specify, because you guys are here, I will be heading out to Germany September 24th, which is a Wednesday. So, as you can probably understand, I won't be able to do the training because I'm going to do the thing I love the most and go on an airplane for about 10 hours. So, going to Germany on the 24th, coming back on October 12th. So it's about a 2.5 hour trip, 2.5 week trip. We're going to find where the rushes came from, and then do a quick pit stop in France. Going with my dad, so it's not like I'm going for the city of love, but it's a city of history too. Um, so there will not be any trainings for that time frame to give you a heads up, but I want to kind of express what I'm planning on doing, from a training perspective as well. So in the future, so we have a couple things that we're working on from the standpoint of valor from technology. So right now I'm working with an organization to build out a CRM system. The CRM system will have accurate building blocks, if you will, to see reporting, cases from different places. It'll integrate with Smart Office from 3Mark. We also have a few other contracts from different places that'll all be plugged in per se off the Valor site. Now, when it comes to training, as we all know, I have my YouTube channel. And what I found extremely hilarious was that most of the trainings, the biggest and most popular one was National Life Group. And I was like saying to myself, I'm like, well, why is it National Life Group? And then I realized that, much like anything, people aren't getting proper training. So they're going any place they can find it for free. So there's going to be a opportunity in the future where we have it's called Go Collab. So it's designed by High Level. There's two Valor sites right now. Um, yeah, see, I mean, NLG is all over the place, Michael. So it is what it is. So we are building out a Go Collab site. I'm going to have it linked to the back office of Valor when we get that all set up. So to be able to submit business on the Valor site, more streamlined approach. Then we'll also have the ability to look at the Go Collab, and I'm going to integrate all my learnings in this section here. So all those trainings that we've been doing for the last 3 years, I'll integrate into this learning management system, and then I'm just gonna pay someone to turn everything on the YouTube channel into shorts, and just give little snippets because basically, it's nice to give people, information, but if I can link it here and put it behind a firewall to make it more safe, that is the next setup for Valor. The website that we're building is going to be about $40 a month if you want it. You don't need it. But for those who have a team in a hierarchy structure, I would probably recommend it because you will be able to see team reporting and team production for bonuses or production purposes and things like that. If you have an agent who's at a percentage level, they hit a marker, you can see it a lot easier the way we'll have it all designed. So that part is what I'm really excited for. Now, that being said, let's kind of dive into some stuff here. So, what I will say is that if you did not catch the meeting with Trustee Friend, I would highly recommend, getting an account with them. I will share my referral link here because this is going to help you get some additional ancillary sales. Okay. On this site, as you can see, some of the solutions they have do it with help. So this is kind of like the do-it-yourself plan, 850. You can add for 150 a notary that will come and sign basically everything for a flat fee of 150. If you need the paralegal involved, then it's 1250, or an actual attorney through a Zoom meeting, it's that. So the reason why I like this though is that from this standpoint, you also have the ability to offer things like irrevocable trusts, special needs trusts, Medicare trusts or Medicaid trusts, and things like that. So you get a percentage based off of that as well. And that's why I say this is something that if you haven't had a chance to watch the video from last week's training, I'd highly recommend going back. There were a lot of questions about it, a lot of buzz about it, and just some great stuff. So, um, them in. Now let's go through what I would say is some illustration designs, because like as you're talking to people, excuse me. When you talk to people and they want to see, different designs, different structures, you got to kind of understand how Winflex is set up and designed for clientele. So I have a giant repository of, carriers just from the years I've been doing this. So, I was part of a test team for AIG, so I got all their stuff too. But what I'll do is I'll kind of share one of the harder ones to understand in Winflex, comparatively speaking, is Columbus. Columbus is a great product. It's a great carrier. Strong participation rate, or excuse me, cap rates on the S&P only. A very clean product, and they offer some pretty cool incentives. But the hard part is understanding how to actually run their stuff in Winflex, and you don't feel like learning their system on their site because that can be a little cumbersome too. So, what I will say first and foremost, the two most popular ones from Columbus, the Index Explorer Plus, and not that, sorry, the Expedition SIUL. Okay. So, for reasons, like the reason why I like the SIUL is that if you have an unhealthy person who is uninsurable and a person who is insurable, so you have these two couples, right? This couple, insurable one passes away, uninsurable one's still alive, they now have living benefits on their product. So you have the ability, because it's a second death, not first death, to get some form of living benefits That's why I like the second to die opportunity. Anytime you look at these products and you see a 2023 and a 25, you want to go for the latter of the two. The only reason why this one is still out is they're either doing revised illustrations on old policies or it's only approved in one state, which is usually California. So let's go with the norm though. Yeah, see, product not yet approved in California. I didn't even read that. I did not read that. I was assuming, and by golly, I'm right. So we'll hit create client here. And right off the bat, it's different than some of the other carriers. So I'll put Phil Resch, Tennessee. So the interesting thing about them is I'm going to put my date of birth in 12/22/81, and it still has me at 43. Okay. So when you talk about some carriers where you're age nearest or age last, Columbus is an age last. So if you have someone leveling up, if you will, or becoming older, then you can look at an opportunity with Columbus. I'll actually zoom in on this too because I know there's some old eyes in here. So I'm still 43 as opposed to other carriers giving me 44 at this point in time. Interesting thing about risk class, they actually say abstainer, standard tobacco abstainer, which means you're abstaining from smoking, dip, chew, all that stuff, versus tobacco user. So standard tobacco abstainer is what I would label this as. Now it gets really interesting when you do the solve for. So, as I've mentioned before in prior trainings, a lot of times carriers will open it up to a no solve. They don't want to be held liable to the understanding of this is how, the illustration was set up. I, new agent, didn't know anything about it, so I just did what was there. So they're leaving it a no solve to let you be the architect of your own design. So if I do solve for, let's just say we're going to do a death benefit focus sale. So we want to solve for premium. We already know the factor, we know the death benefit we want. We have to figure out the premium. So now it gets a little funky here because some of the other carriers, like let's say I want half a mil, 500,000. Okay. A lot of the other carriers don't have this solve for cash value target. They'll usually just say solve for premium, and that's it. But you have to just kind of read how the lingo is designed. The premium solve option is a cash value target at the maximum years, which is age 121, of $0. We're going to solve for a max amount of premium payments at current interest rates. Okay, so that's how you want to read it. So if I, Phil Resch, want this policy to last to age 105, I want my premium years or my solve option for my premium years not to be max, but age 105. So, excuse me. Did I even mess this up? Age, yeah, sorry, wrong spot. 105. And this is solving for the premium years, how long I'm going to pay the premium for. See? Long day. So the solve year age is the cash value target of 0 by this age. So we'll reverse what I said. I only want to pay for 20 years though, so I'm going to do policy year and I'm going to do 20. So this will mean I'm only paying for 20 years. I'm going to have my policy lapse by age 106. Now, what it's doing, and I think the big thing to understand as well when you talk about IUL sales, and this is probably the most important thing, you have three variables. You have death benefit, you have premium, and you have interest rate or illustrated interest rate. Okay. So if I had, for example's sake, an interest rate here showing 100% in the S&P 500 as 6.68%. Okay. So what the calculation I just put in was I'm only going to pay for 20 years. I want my policy to last all the way to age 105. That is based off a rate of return of 6.68 average for the entire duration of the contract. What do I have to give? Okay. So, simple question. If this went down, what would happen to my premium? Would it go up, down, or stay the same? Anybody? Making sure you're awake.
Would go up.
It would go up. That's right. So, because the policy is not generating enough compounding interest to allow you the opportunity to keep that death benefit. So, we have 500K. We're doing a 20 pay to age 105. No disbursements. We're just going to keep it level and annual pay to keep it simple and easy. Interest rate 668. The riders are already built in for the living benefit riders, as you can see here. Okay. Term riders, we're not doing any term riders right now. We're just keeping it plain vanilla. And then, just for example's sake, I will show you I'm copying it. So I have two fill rushes at Columbus, and I'm going to change the interest rate to, let's say, 5.5%. Select all. So not calculate over here, that'll only calculate one. Calculate in the top left-hand corner, it's going to run them both at the same time. So what we'll see here is this should calculate it appropriately. Again, it can be a little confusing the first time you run Columbus. And I think it's one of the hidden gems in the industry. They do still underwrite a little slower than some of the other carriers. But I think they're worth their weight in gold, and I'll tell you why in a second. So as you see, the illustration rate 5.5 versus 6.68. So I've literally had some clients where I've reduced the interest rate and they said it's too expensive, increase the interest rate. I was like, okay. So he did, and then they bought it with that. So it's a weird dynamic. People don't understand. They think if I'm showing you this, it means it's a bad product. It's not a bad product. I'm just trying to temper the expectation. So if we do the six, yes, they can always go up to 7 grand later, but once again, it goes back to compounding. So if my client doesn't have compounding to start, okay, there's less cash value in it. Say it's hitting a 5.5, not a 668, and my compounding is going. The problem is my anticipation was putting 6 grand in, and I need 7,100. Well, now my cost of insurance is going to get more expensive. And later on, it won't be just me putting in 7161. It might be 8, 9, 10 grand to keep the policy active. So that's why policy reviews, what we're going to talk about tomorrow, is so important. So let's look at this basic one. So for about 6 grand a year, 550K, one of the hidden gems or reasons why I like the Columbus product is I was able to get a diabetic with an 8.0 A1C, a standard non-tobacco on an IUL. Reason being, they have a table shave program, tables C, B, and A automatically shave to standard. So if you have a client who's getting subpar rates, whether through health, like heaviness, or diabetes, maybe a combination of both, then you have an ace up your sleeve to still potentially get someone a standard non-tobacco using Columbus. So for those of you in the Indian market who might have some people who have not so stellar ratings, might be worth a shot. But I wouldn't say, hey, you'll get preferred. It's not going to take a table B and put it at preferred. It would take a B and put it to standard. So the first page here, you'll see you have not only a clear-cut 6 grand roughly, 500K death benefit, but you also have living benefits. So, and it gives you actual percentages or actual dollar amounts based off of the face amount. So, if at 65 I had a critical illness, so they call it something different, specified medical condition, I would get $164,000. and I would have the remaining of 500,000 minus 164 available in death benefit. So same thing with chronic illness, 273 would come to me. And then let's just say 225 or 227 would stay active for my policy. So once again, it's a different animal. Some people, like if I use the Corbridge analogy here and at 65, it was 273. Corbridge might give you 400K. We don't know because it's based on actuarial assessments. So there is some nebulous to it, like some uncertainty, if you will. Whereas here you have certainty, you have an understanding based on a percentage, and you still have death benefit remaining. Go ahead,
It is a,
Aziz.
it is based on the severity too, right?
No, it's actually for this, it's based just on percentage. So
Hmm.
they have percentages. So with
And
Corebridge, it's based on severity.
severity.
So,
Do they
yep.
pay taxes on this money? No, right?
You do not pay taxes on the on
Um,
terminal specified medical condition. You could potentially pay taxes on the chronic illness. Okay.
okay.
And that's all dictated based off of the IRS per diem. So if at 65, the IRS per diem is still what it's at today, around 12,000, 13,000 ish, somewhere around there, then you're going to pay anything higher. I'm using 12 because I can do the easy math. 100, 240,000. God, I can't do the math. 144? Is that it? 144,000?
Yeah.
12,000 a month. I think it's 144. 12,000 times by 12 months. Yeah,
Yeah,
144.
that's all for the course.
Yeah, a little late, Tia. Okay, a little. No, I'm just kidding. Thank
I
you.
was trying to
Thank you.
let you figure it out. I don't want to be that person.
I know. You can be that person. Anytime someone else wants to talk, they sure can. So so 273 minus 120 or 144 would be potentially taxable. You'd have to have a really good CPA to justify the rest went towards cost of, care. Okay, so receipts could help.
So is this on any chronic illness for any living benefits um
This
policy?
for Columbus, yes. So if you want
Okay.
to talk like the living benefit carriers, Corbridge and NLG have very similar designs because the guy at NLG created them at Corbridge after. Columbus and North American have a very similar structure and design as well with percentages. So
Okay.
those are usually the four that I would say have the best living benefits based on what people are looking for and underwriting risk classes. So this one is on the percentage side versus the other one where I reference it kind of like the lottery. Okay, so if the winning number was got you $100 million, you can take the lump sum, which most people like to do, or you take a 30-year annuity payout because that's what it is. So a 30-year annuity payout, there's a current value or a present value, and after 30 years, it would equal that 100 million. That number here is kind of like the accelerated number that you would get from a living benefit claim based on your ailment. So if someone's lifespan was 30 years left and that ailment cut it to 15 years, then what do they have to give the person today that if they invested at, say, a 7% return, it would equal their death benefit in 15 years? So it's an acceleration of it. You get it up front at current
Mm-hmm.
value, not future value. That's what
Yeah.
NLG and Corbridge do.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I hate using the lottery as an example, but I mean, you can't win if you don't play. So yeah, I mean, this is a different tool or a different type of product per se because a lot of times you have to have total control with the client. There's some clients who you have to win based on pricing because they're going to shop you to like five other agents. But if you have total control, this carrier has a great story. It just doesn't look as good on paper as, say, a North American or a Corbridge because, well, North American has bonuses attached to their product. Corbridge, they used to use the MLSB 100% to make it look better. But, when you do everything S&P related, the playing field evens pretty quickly. So if I did this right, we go all the way down to the money page. And as we all know, we always look at the far right-hand column, current rate 668. And you'll see here my premium 59,834 after 10 years. And it's not, again, it's a death benefit focused product, but that's not bad cash value for a death benefit focus, to be completely honest. Then we talk 20 years, 120,000 total. You have 130,000 in cash value. Now, between us girls and whoever else watches this later on, another cool feature about the Columbus portfolio is that this cash value that's continuing to grow, as long as your policy is active, you're going to get a trail on the cash value. Okay. So we're not talking renewals. Renewals with Columbus go up to 12 years total, not 10 like most carriers on the premium payments, but there's micro like trails. Let's just say it's like 0.001%, whatever. But more policies you sell, cash value that's in. Think of it like what a lot of the captive agents do on the whole life side, like your New York Life agents, your Northwesterns. They try and keep money on the books because they get continual renewals. So they build up enough, big renewal base, and they're happy. Same thing over here. If you have enough cash value policies that are continuing to grow, those are micro transactions, or you'll get a lump sum of cash value, almost like at the time frame of, calendar year. So Jeff Tabor talked about a guy who wrote a ton of Columbus, shifted to another carrier for whatever reason, and he was still getting $36,000 checks a year from Columbus because the policies were still active. And he owned an agency, so if you have a team and they're all writing, you as the upper hierarchical manager would also get a percentage off of that too. So there is a cool incentive to kind of use them as a bell cow for your organization as well. And the trails start in year two. So you won't see it right away. Again, it's like nothing because there's not much cash there, but over time, as your policies mature, and grow and foster, then you're getting cash value trails as well. On top of that, they have a beneficiary form. So if you have the active agent pass away, the trails still get paid out to the beneficiary because the policies are still active. So it's a pretty cool feature on how they take care of their producers. They still have that career mindset, if you will. The drawback is that again they're a little bit slower compared to some of the other carriers to get, I guess you'd say, the pig through the python. Um, if we look here, this 500K policy, uh, target premium is not TP here. It's actually FD. So this would be a 10,615 target case, just to give you an idea. It's not TP, believe it or not, it's FD. I don't know what FD stands for. Don't ask me. Um, but as you can see here, I did a 20 pay. Policy is still active on the 6.68 side. And we go all the way down. And what you'll see is it goes all the way to 105. Now, just a rebuttal to this, with Corbridge, you'll see here that this policy runs out of gas at 66. Okay. I converted my QOL term to a QOL value plus protector. I also did a 20 pay. So I'm done by about 63-ish. But my policy on the 0% column goes to 83. So it doesn't have as much of a guaranteed column here compared to a Corbridge. North American, you can dial a guarantee, but you pay more. So again, there's trade-offs with these companies, and that's why I say you don't want one company to be your bell cow carrier because some clients they may only be able to qualify for this. A good example, we had a client who got declined by North American and a young kid, 28 years old, and he has like diabetes, undiagnosed diabetic, and we got a table D as in dog for him. He has extremely high blood pressure, like he should go to the doctor and get that regulated. But we got him a table D, and if one carrier is going to decline it, you might have your bell cow carrier. You can always research, and the benefit of partnering with us is that we have the 40 other carriers at our fingertips to help with stuff like that. So, the big thing that I would say from the standpoint here, clean product, clean design, clean setup. Um, the downsides are longer underwriting, and typically they don't look on paper as competitive as others. But once again, I always say to people, illustrations only prove that ink sticks to paper. The ideas of these IULs back in the day when I used to sell whole life, IULs were running at a 14% rate of return, and someone would fund only 10 grand for 10 years and then pull out $1 million for the rest of their lives. I was like, this is absolutely insane and ridiculous. So I'm okay with it now because the illustration rates are down. It's showing a more tempered expectation for the customer, and I think that's one of the big things to always remember as we look at these products the way that they're set up. We have to make sure that we're also planning for the future as opposed to the initial sale because you're linked and tied to them for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. 10 grand is great in the pocket, but, are you actively managing and helping this person out as well? So that's the big thing to remember too. Any questions on this? So if I were to flip the script, let's just keep the 668 because why not? Now I want to do income, and I want to flip the script here to solve for face amount. You'll see here, it doesn't really give you what you're looking for. Okay. So it's kind of a funky setup. You have to actually go to no solve, and there's the minimum. So your minimum face amount. And let's just say, for example's sake, I want to do $12,000 a year for the next 20 years. Okay. So that's how you would set up the LERP strategy with Columbus inside of Winflex. Policy options, we're going to do increasing for 20 years. And then we're going to levelize it after. And then disbursements, like you normally would. So you'll see loans, solve for. We're going to click the calendar here. And from 45 to 64, I'm going to double click here and say 0. And then 65 to, let's just say 89, and do solve for. And then double click here and hit 0. So this should get you income from 65 to 90 or 66 to 90. Let's see how it shows up. But that's why I say like they're one of the funkiest designs in WinFlex because you have to do it on the no solve. So hit calculate here. Let's see if I did it right. Um, and a lot of times if you're doing multi-carrier illustrations, and say for example's sake, this comes up, for 12,000 a year, it's probably gonna be like 113,000 or something like that. Um, if you have a bunch of them that are like 113, 125, 150, then you got one that's like a million. You messed up. It's not accurate. So a lot of these carriers are going to be within the ballpark of each other. And so when you see something that's a little bit off or really, really off, then you know you did something wrong. Excuse me. So I check the PDF here, and once again, you have the slide here up front, talk about supplemental income. This is just talking about cash value. Again, the living benefits, if you'll notice, it's actually higher. Why is that? Because my policy is increasing. Okay. So these can be higher depending on the situation. But I'm going to go down to the money page slowly but surely. All right. 12,000 policy started out at 194, increasing over time. We paid out, we put in a total of 240,000, and now we got income coming out of about 41,108 for a total of 25 years or 240,000, and you're getting a total of $1 million in tax-free income at a 6.668% rate of return. So as you can see, it's a little different than some of the other carriers where if you do a solve for face amount, you do minimum no mech. Here you have to do a no solve and just change it to minimum, and then you'll be able to figure out the calculations from there. It's a little funky, but once you get used to it, you get used to it. Any questions on that? Quiet group tonight. Quiet group. So what I would say is, from this standpoint, you know, what I want to do is kind of show that. Now, if for example's sake, I had the Expedition SIUL, and we added in my lovely wife, who is now as old as I am, for a few months. We'll say standard tobacco abstainer. Flip the script here. We'll go back to face amount and we'll solve for the cash value target. And we're going to do let's back it up here. Solve for face amount. We want 500,000. And we're going to do it for solve for year, age, all that fun stuff. Let's see. Age 105. Let's see. Now we don't want endowment. Just trying to see if I could do the limit the pay, but for some reason it's not showing up here. I'm not doing that. Might be why. Huh. Might be because it carried over properties from the prior designs. So let's just see what we got here. Cue the Columbus Life illustration showing 41K a year. That is loans, they're not being paid back, nor is interest. So basically, you're continuing to use participating loans. And so the participating loans in this illustration, as always, they're showing a 5% loan rate. Lordy, I did something wrong. Oh, yeah, solve for premium. I told you it's a long day. So we'll solve for 500,000 face amount and cash value target, premium years, 20 years, age 105. So as that's calculating, egg on my face on that one. So yeah, so the income play is the idea from that standpoint is you're borrowing 41,000. That money is staying active in the index, so they're charging 5%, and these illustrations are showing you're hitting every year. So 6.68%, what you're borrowing is getting a 1.68% positive loan arbitrage added back to the cash value. So that's what you're seeing there, and that's what the difference is. If I changed it to a standard loan, I'd probably only be able to take out like 25,000. So you'll see here the second to die, the premium on a 20 pay dropped by pretty much half. Okay. Now, the living benefits are still the same, but it's only available at second death, not first death. So just again, understand that. Now, if we scroll all the way down to the money page, I went way too far. You'll see here that we've only paid 56,000 into this and we still have 500,000. So because we're so young, okay, because 40 is the new 20, that's what I keep telling myself. And also because we're doing a second to die, there's an actuarial calculation on two lives versus one. So you don't have to put in as much because it's on two lives, and they usually base this off the anticipation the client pays forever. So a continual premium. So these second to dies usually used for legacy gifting when you think about grandparents who are giving a death benefit to the grandkids. Let's be honest, they don't care about their kids anymore. They care about their grandkids. This is a great story for them because you get more bang for your buck. Now, also, again, the table shave program, follows suit for, Columbus, which is a great value add too. But the second it dies, specifically usually meant for legacy, but you can also use it for an income play too. Now you'll notice here, target premium, even though it's the same 500K, is not 10 grand anymore. It's $3,300. Because why? It's on two lives, so actuarial tables, less premium is coming in, that means less target is going out. Which again, if that's what the client is looking for, that's the most important part. So questions on this? Does this make sense? All right. Well, quiet group tonight. If there are no questions, I'll wrap because I just want to make sure you guys got a little bit of value. I'm getting prepped for this weekend anyway, for the summit. So looking forward to seeing those who are coming. We got a lot of cool stuff planned. But that being said, any last questions, comments, raw burst of emotion?
Hey Phil, I think one of the cool things I found out was that SIUL, you
Mhm.
don't have to necessarily be a spouse. You can do with your kid as well.
You can. You just have to have a good reason.
Got
The
it.
interesting thing about that is like someone's tried that because they're like, oh, well, I want to get the living benefits. I was like, what are you trying to kill your kid? I mean, like, so it can get it can get kind of awkward from that standpoint. But yeah, you as long as there is a uh what is it? Common interest or value, yeah, you can. So, parent and kid. So if you're looking at a LERP strategy, you could save a lot of money by having a kid versus just yourself. But once again, it's on second death. So if I took a lot of money and then my kid is left with a big loan, be kind of a jerk thing to do. But yeah, that is not just spouses per se. Yeah, you can do it with a kid. It is interesting when you can do that. Um, okay. Well, again, tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're doing policy review. We'll talk about some of the benefits of doing policy review, mining your current book of business, and then also understanding, coming up this weekend. Again, Summit will be here on the 13th and 14th. So we'll have some cool stuff for that. And really, now is the time to kind of start talking about fourth quarter push. What are you looking to get in the books for 2025? And then ultimately, I start planning for 26, usually mid-October. So I'll come back from Germany and probably start planning for trips I'm going to do next year, and stuff like that. So I know a lot of us in the financial services industry, especially the insurance industry, can be a little ADHD, and just, trying to chase the whatever's hot. But I found this very important. It literally took me 2 months last year to kind of get ready for this year. And, it definitely helped. But you're obviously going to have to modify and change things as you go. So I'd highly encourage you that if you want to talk about fourth quarter, like I showed you guys the sales playbook that I built for the summit attendees. But if you want to talk about a fourth quarter push, what you want to do for either your team or for yourself, uh, what type of prospects you're looking for. We can talk about niche markets and things like that. And then also, really, it's kind of putting a plan in place for next year. So, are you going to sponsor a booth? Are you going to do an event? Are you going to not do any of that and just do your own thing? So there's a lot of different ways that you can tackle it, but feel free to use my appointment book. So it's just appointments.valorfs.com. And, I'd probably recommend a Zoom. So 60-minute Zoom, 30-minute Zoom, whatever you find is most valuable for you. But if you want to kind of talk about strategic planning for Q4 and then also just kind of integration into the next year, you guys, it's worth the time for me to help you guys in that manner. So any way that I can help you be successful, just let me know. Other than that, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'll say again, I will be out of country the 24th to October 12th. You will be able to WhatsApp me. I have the same phone number for WhatsApp. So if you have it, feel free to text me. And if I can call, whatever, depending on data, depending on all that crap. But I won't be able to do Zooms, so I've blocked my calendar off for those 2.5 weeks. So there will not be trainings either while I'm gone. All right. So appreciate it. Appreciate you guys for jumping in and look forward to future conversations. You guys have a great rest of your night and we'll see you tomorrow. So take it easy, guys.